Welcome back. Work is continuing on my 10th battle jacket, which I'm really hoping to have done sometime either late this month or early next month. It's been a long time coming, especially considering I was out of work for so long, but it's nearing the end. We're on the home stretch, and I couldn't be happier. My friend Bob, who plays in a band called Ruthless, actually gave us a patch for his band, so I'm going to be throwing that on my jacket as well. And I just made a stop a few weeks ago over to one of my favorite stores in Vegas, Record City. They're a record, CD, movie shop, but they also have a small selection of patches as well, so I picked up a few there as well. We got Motorhead. I think this is kind of a given considering Motorhead's Mickey D is in the Scorpions now. Anthrax, one of the all-time great classic heavy metal groups. And I even found an Accept patch. I am doing something at the bottom of the back of the jacket where I'm putting a few other German bands that aren't the Scorpions, just for diversity, so that'll go great right there. But I actually ended up making a totally unexpected Holy Grail find when I went in Record City. I mean, you go in there, you're going to find plenty of records, obviously, but you're not going to find too many like this. This is Aerosmith's Done With Mirrors album, and it's autographed by all 5 classic members of the band. Yeah. Joey Kramer, Phil Perry, Steven Tyler, Brad Whitford, and Tom Hamilton. And it only cost me $10. This is easily the find of the century for me in there, and I'm certainly going to have to start going back in that store a little more often. Of course, Joey, the guy who's the manager in there, I've known him for 20 plus years. That guy always takes care of me. He's certainly one of the greatest record salesmen out here in Las Vegas.
I also got a message from Michael Olivieri, who was the vocalist guitarist in the band Leatherwolf back in the 80s, saying he might have a patch that I could have for my battle jacket, and he actually sent me this. This looks very nice, and this will certainly have a nice place on there. He even threw in a bonus item for me, which was a pleasant surprise. He gave me a signed CD from his new group, Michael Olivieri Band, so I'll definitely be giving this one a listen as well. I've just decided to take on a rather large undertaking, that of course being to finally get my movie collection organized and on display. When I first moved into this place, I used the closet downstairs for movie storage. But A, it wasn't really big enough, and B, on top of that, if the movies are tucked away in the closet, they're not really on display. If you have a collection like mine, obviously you're going to want to show it off and make the movies part of your home decor. But of course, I'm going to take a break from organizing movies for a while because Lynn and my other friend Dave are both coming over. Both of them, as we established earlier, like to make battle jackets, so we're going to make a repeat trip over to Record City. Ever since I found that signed Aerosmith record, I'm certainly eager to get back over there and see if I can find some more great deals or rare Holy Grail finds. I'm always browsing the local concert calendars, and I just saw something that really caught my eye. Out at Vamped in the middle of December, there's going to be a show by a band called Quarantine. This is a Kiss tribute band, specifically a tribute to the non-makeup Kiss years, featuring Chris Jericho, the infamous professional wrestler turned metal singer, best known for his work with the band Fozzy. There's going to be a guest appearance by Bruce Kulick, who of course played guitar for the band from about the mid-80s through the mid-90s. Now, you saw my friend Lynn and his Power Rangers battle jacket. I've been trying to get him to start a music battle jacket. I'm going to offer him a challenge when he comes by later. And essentially, I'm going to give him the challenge of finishing a music battle jacket in time for the Quarantine show. I'm also going to offer to buy him a back patch for his jacket as a Christmas present if he agrees to do this jacket next. He's already got plans for a ton of others.
added some patches to your collection. Why don't you show off what you just got?
All right. These two, I made some trades and I got these two.
Okay.
And then these were gifts and just throw them up. I don't know much about these bands, but maybe I should probably check them out now.
Okay, Dave, which patch did you buy over at Record City earlier?
I got this Led Zeppelin patch. One of the first bands I listened to when I was younger.
And since I'm in the middle of organizing my collection, I wanted to show off a few of my favorite items from my collection.
The Import 4K Chucky collection, the Import Psycho collection, the Toxic Avenger collection, the Friday the 13th Blu-ray collection. One of my favorite items is this. This is the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Released in 1920, this is like an old silent movie that's arguably the first real horror film. This is a UK import. They actually did release this in America eventually, but that version didn't have the nice big booklet that comes in here. And a lot of the bonus features in this release didn't end up on the domestic release, so it's definitely the better of the two. The Resident Evil Steelbook box set, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Complete Series DVD set, Dawn of the Dead,
Plus a bonus Blu-ray with additional features.
one of my favorite items in my entire collection. This is my Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest box set. This has all of the major films that Bruce Lee made in 4K, plus it has some alternate cuts and bonus features on Blu-ray. So like for example, here's The Big Boss, which was his first major starring film. Got some pretty cool artwork in there as well. There's a huge hardbound book in here as well. This book is almost 200 pages long. It's also got posters, art cards, and even reprints of some lobby cards. Arguably the most comprehensive set I own of any movie star. Okay, you think that's going to work for your battle jacket?
I think it's perfect.
The Andy Griffith Show Complete Series Blu-ray, Pee-wee's Playhouse Complete Series Blu-ray. I have the Complete Series Steelbook set of Dragon Ball Super. Each one of the 10 volumes gets its own steelbook, so these actually look very nice. Being a Dragon Ball fan, I absolutely had to have this set, but there's just a look at one of the individual boxes. And this is the Import Complete Series box set of Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Fold open packaging that's got some random Terry Gilliam art. That looks pretty cool. And you get boxes for each of the individual 4 seasons of the series. Like for example, here's season 1. You get each season in one of these little fold-out booklets. Each season is 2 discs, with the exception of the 4th and final season, which is only 1 disc. And you get every episode meticulously remastered, plus some nice bonus features. And one of my favorite things about this set too is that each season gets a book. And these books are well over 100 pages. They have a ton of production notes. They have like cast listings for extras, nice little tidbits for the episodes. There's a ton of stuff in here. And for any Monty Python fan, this is the greatest set there is.
That's 6 4K movies in each set.
So once again, I was browsing eBay for some great patches. I wanted to find Lynn a back patch for the jacket that he's working on, which of course wanted to get done in time for the quarantine show in the middle of December. And I found a great one on here that has all 4 members of the band from the Lick It Up era. Unfortunately, not long after ordering it, I got an email from the seller stating that they could not locate this patch, but they did give me the option of 2 alternative designs. And there's this really great one here of Gene and Paul without their makeup. And since what we're going to is a non-makeup Kiss tribute, I think this would be a great patch. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one, and hopefully he's happy with it. If we're talking favorite movies of all time, I have tons of favorite movies of all time, but I'm going to narrow it down to 3 here. First and foremost is the movie that I've seen more times than any other, Top Gun. This, of course, being the classic 1986 naval aviator film starring Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis. It featured the best aerial sequences ever captured on film, and really no other movie in that regard has ever come close. This is long before CG and cheap computer effects, so it's really a testament to movie making, especially considering the filmmakers had the cooperation of the United States Navy. The sequel, Top Gun Maverick, is also great. Another one that comes to mind is The Godfather. This, of course, is Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus, just based on the classic novel by Mario Puzo. Great big ensemble cast, great storytelling, plot elements, character development. I mean, it takes Mario Puzo's novel, which was a little convoluted and overlong. It essentially trims the fat and just focuses on the meat of the story, making it one of those rare examples of a movie that's actually better than its book counterpart.
My favorite movie of all time is Sunset Boulevard, 1950, directed by the incredible Billy Wilder, and I love it because I am a writer and I can really relate to a lot of the things that poor Joe Giddies goes through. Not the drowning in the swimming pool, though, not that part yet.
And lastly, of course, I love rock and roll, so it stands to reason I love rock and roll movies. And of course, one of the biggest, best, and most revered rock and roll movies of all time is the 1984 comedy This Is Spinal Tap, starring the likes of Harry Shearer, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and directed by Rob Reiner, who also appears in the film as a documentary filmmaker. This one's just a lot of fun, and the really surprising thing is the music, which actually is being played by the cast, is absolutely hilarious. There's even some great cameos in this movie, including a brief appearance from Paul Shortino, the man who'd go on to sing for bands like Rough Cut, Quiet Riot, and King Cobra. And you have bit parts from people like Billy Crystal, Dana Carvey, Fran Drescher, Angelica Houston. It's one of my favorites of all time, and it makes me laugh every single time I watch it. Not to mention the music is great.
Well, I can't pick just one, so I'm gonna pick like 3. Time Bandits, the original Clash of the Titans, and probably Predator. Now, the reason I like these movies is because when I grew up in the 80s, cable was new. There was like one HBO, one Cinemax, one Showtime, one TMC, and these movies came out all the time, and they were ingrained in my head. They played these movies 3 times a day for like 5 years. It got ingrained into my head. Those are awesome movies. Those characters are awesome. When I think about it, I have happy memories. I love them. They're great. And if you haven't seen those movies, go see those movies immediately.
Hello, my name is Daniel Howitt. I'm a journalist for Next Best Picture. And when I heard Taylor was doing a countdown of people's favorite movies, I had to include my own. I give a lot of different answers when people ask me what my favorite movie is. It's a hard question to answer. So, depending on the context, I might say something different. But it always comes back to my true favorite, which is That Thing You Do. Tom Hanks' directorial debut about a one-hit wonder band from the 60s. It's just so funny and sweet and charming. It's got a killer soundtrack. I watched it with my family growing up. I have memories of bringing a tiny little TV on road trips across the country, and this is one of the movies we had on rotation. As a kid, it made me want to play drums, and I did. I learned drums and played all throughout high school and college, and it just gave me a love for music, for bands, as well as just being a hilarious movie. There are still lines that I can quote Steubenville that make no sense out of context, but it's got a killer cast. Steve Zahn is hilarious in the movie. Tom Hanks is great in it as well. Tom Robert Scott, so many people. It's just a really, really great movie. If you do watch it, there's also an extended cut if you've never seen it. It adds some good character moments, though it is a little bit long. But whichever version you watch, That Thing You Do is just so funny, and will always be one of my favorite movies of all time.
The Rocky movies, like the first one, They were great. A lot of the Sylvester Stallone and Over the Top. I mean, those were my favorite movies. They were really cool. They're really inspirational too.
So, my favorite movie series is of course the Hannibal movies, or Silence of the Lambs, and of course, who doesn't? Anthony Hopkins was perfect for the role of Hannibal. My favorite character of the whole franchise. And of course, who wouldn't like the movies if they didn't have the not one, not two, not three, but the four books that came out. Obviously, I'm reading the first book that came out, The Red Dragon, but I can't wait to read The Silence of the Lambs because that was my favorite movie of all of them. But the portrayal of Anthony Hopkins in this one, perfect. I think my favorite part of the movie was when Clarice first meets Hannibal, and when Hannibal says it, one of the lines, he's like, I ate his liver, and with a Fafa Beeson and Candy, does that, like, I can't do it, but that sound he makes after that sentence, I don't know why, it cracks me up every time he does it. And Clarice's face, she's so shook. She's like, what did I just witness? That face she does makes me laugh even more. And
That's probably one of the hardest questions of all time. But if I really had to pick one, it would probably be Space Jam, the 1990s version. And the reason is because it's one of the earliest movies that combined animation with celebrity professional athletes and comedy all in one, and how big the Looney Tunes was back then, it just kind of brought it to a whole new center.
So I can't wait to see what actually happens in the books, because I find the books give more detail than the movie, so I can't wait.
I'm really into horror movies, and my pick for the best horror movie would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre that came out in the late 60s or early 70s. It starred Gunnar Shane as Leatherface, and there are some pretty gory scenes in it, so if you're into blood and gore, that's the movie you want to get and see, the original uncut version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I actually got to meet Gunnar Shane, who was Leatherface in that movie, at a haunted hayride that I worked at as him in the forest scene. He happened to be in one of the hayrides when it went by, and I'm in the apron, the kitchen apron, and that. You hear a chainsaw start up, I come running after the hayride with the chainsaw flailing above my head, and he said I did a great job of impersonating him. That's a pretty good endorsement for the impressions that I do. And my pick for the most recent horror movie would be the Hatchet series. It stars Kane Hodder from the Friday the 13th movies. He played Jason Voorhees in the last 4, and that's pretty gory too. There's a lot of blood and pretty gnarly scenes in it in those movies. So those are my picks. If you get a chance, go rent them or buy them and check them out. They're really good.
And I also I'm watching the Hannibal series, so I'm almost done the first season, and let's just say I'm hooked, and I can't wait to see the second season and the third. And if people say that I'm not ready to watch the second season, I will. With that little warning, I know something's about to go down. So that's my little segment. Yeah, those are my favorite movie series currently.
What is my favorite movie and why? Blade Runner 2049, released in 2017, directed by Denis Villeneuve. I believe that's how you say his name. It is, of course, a sequel to one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made, one of my favorite movies, also, the first Blade Runner. And why is it my favorite movie? I mean, just from a visual standpoint, it's Roger Deakins, who I believe is one of the greatest working cinematographers ever. From a musical standpoint, it's a very moving soundtrack. It's Hans Zimmer, Benjamin Wallfish combining powers to create one of the most mesmerizing scores I've heard in the last 20 years, in my opinion. It is very much a story about artificiality, and yet it has such a human story to it. It is very relatable, a theme of isolation and feeling like you need to find purpose in your life. And I think that is a very human desire to have. I mean, just from an acting standpoint, I think it's one of Harrison Ford's greatest performances, especially in his later years. Ryan Gosling, I think he's one of the best actors working today. And again, back to the director, I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of the new masters. You know, you had the era of Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese and all of them. You start wondering where the new masters are. I believe Denis Villeneuve is one of those new masters. And I think his filmography really speaks for itself. From Blade Runner 2049 to Arrival to his most recent efforts of Dune and Dune Part 2.
So yeah, I hope you all have a good day, and or good day, good night, whatever time you're watching this, and see you next time.
Yeah, I just think it's an excellent movie. It's beautifully made, emotionally resonant. There's thrills, and I think it took someone like Denis to see that. I mean, I could go on all day about why it's my favorite movie, but Blade Runner 2049 is my favorite movie, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
We got big one. Oh, it's Kiss. They're not making Gene and Paul. Yes. And one more. The Leopard. I think there's one more in here.
Unfortunately, I am still organizing my movie collection, and I find myself in a bit of a conundrum now. I've been trying to organize movies by genre, but as I've learned, this is a lot harder than I was expecting it to be, because there's so many movies that fall into more than one genre. I mean, do you put something like Blazing Saddles under comedy or westerns? Do you put war movies under action or drama? I mean, it's just at the point where this is a little too much of a conundrum, and I don't really want to deal with it anymore, so luckily I'm not completely done filing and organizing everything, so I'm just going to scrap it and start over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to organize all the movies in my collection from A to Z, regardless of genre. And I will have a separate section for the larger box sets so they don't take up a bunch of room amid the other movies. And of course, it's taken a long time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, plenty of delays because I lost my job, of course, before. But now that I'm back to work, I have more money in my pockets, and my battle jacket, the James Kotak Scorpions tribute, is finally done. So here's a look at how this looks. There are still a few things I need to cinch up before I wear this out in public, so here's a look at the top. You have your Kotak tribute at the top, various Scorpions album covers. On the other side, a little bit of everything else. There's less of a central cohesive theme on this side, but you can see some pretty good bands and patches. Lynn even provided a few from some of the lots that he purchased, and that helped me get this done in record time. I don't know about my favorite album, but my favorite Iron Maiden song, and believe me, it's not easy to choose just one, would probably have to be Chains of Misery from the Fear of the Dark album in 1992. This episode's over, so now you got your homework. Go on YouTube and look up Chains of Misery by Iron Maiden. You'll thank me later.